Hey guys, Ultra Maximus here, and I'm back with the fifth installment of my top 10 movies video series that I've been working on. And this time I want to talk about romance and romantic comedies. And I'm kind of combining both of those together. And some people are like, what? Really, dude? Romance? Rom-coms? Chick flicks? Really? Well, if you're a movie buff, you have to appreciate all styles of film, and you have to find what's good in all of them, right? And I do like a lot of romantic comedies and a lot of romance films. And to be honest, those are some of the most difficult films to actually come across well because they deal with a lot of emotion and they deal with a lot of drama and just a lot of dialogue, and if it's not done properly, it comes off horrible. So this is probably, in my opinion, one of the more difficult of the movie genres for actors and directors to actually produce on film. So let's take a look at what I think the top 10 romance and romantic comedies are. Okay, so at number 10, I've got the romantic comedy Hitch, starring Will Smith and Eva Mendes. And the reason I like this film, it's a fun rom-com, but it's also one of those things where it's kind of Smith's character is teaching guys how to hook up with chicks kind of character. He's the playboy, he's the ladies guy, he's the cocksmith, you know. He all he cares about is string of one night stands and teaching other guys how to do it, and that's how he makes his living. And then he gets hooked up with Eva Mendes and everything kind of falls apart and the comedic adventure kind of goes on. But what's nice about this film is this is one that both guys and girls can share together as a couple. This is definitely something a guy can sit down and watch and get laughs out of, and if they appreciate the romance in it, that's fine. And the lady in the group is definitely going to appreciate it. So this has something for both parties in a couple, which is why it makes the top 10. All right, number 9, I've got the romantic comedy When Harry Met Sally. It's a Rob Reiner film, of course, with Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. When people think romantic comedies, when they think rom-com, they think When Harry Met Sally. This was almost the epitome of a romantic comedy from the 80s. And this story, this is a good story. Rob Reiner is a brilliant director for comedy, and he actually got this idea when he became single after one of his divorces. And basically, this film it follows the two main characters as they go from when they first meet, they go across the country road trip, and then they have various encounters in New York City over some years, and it's really into those can men and women just be friends kind of thing, and they end up falling in love and all that kind of good stuff. This movie really, I think, personally put Meg Ryan on the map for America's sweetheart, America's rom-com girl. This really kind of pushed it there. And who doesn't know that iconic scene where in the diner and she fakes the orgasm? I mean, that's just absolutely hysterical. And fantastic film, very funny. It takes a very interesting look at the relationships between guys and girls, and whether men and women can just be platonic, whether they're going to fall in love, all that kind of good stuff. And it really, really hits home in a lot of places. So that's why it's in the top 10. Okay, at number 8, I've got Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. Now, I was really debating whether this was going to go in there or not, but it really kind of had to go because it's such an iconic 80s romantic comedy film. Although the premise is really kind of off to me, in fact, that we've got the rich guy who hires the prostitute, and this is basically I can fix her kind of storyline to me. It always has been. But there are some really interesting undertones to it. I actually had to watch this film in college, and we dissected it a little bit. And there's a lot of things where he does come up that, I can, help this girl, I can fix this girl kind of thing. But moreover, it takes on the whole, you never judge a book by its cover kind of ideal, whether, especially in the fact that he sees things into her that he's really interested in, and she sees things in him that he's interested in, or she's interested in, and they both kind of come together and meet in the middle sort of deal. So it's that whole opposites attract, don't judge the book by the cover sort of story, albeit it's almost tongue-in-cheek the way they slapped it together. Still, everybody knows this film, and this is almost a modern Cinderella type of story. It really is. So that's why it makes the top 10. All right. At number 7, we've got As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt and Greg Kinnear. And, I got to tell you, this is a good movie, despite the fact it's kind of a romantic comedy. It's very well done in the fact that Jack Nicholson, and probably one of Jack's last um, roles where he can seduce the woman and pick her up kind of thing, because he is getting on in years. And we see the story between Jack and Helen, and he's an ass. He's kind of neurotic, and he doesn't like women, but he writes romance novels, which is very amusing. In fact, it's great lines in the whole film, but the one where he's talking about, the woman asks, how does he write women? And he says, well, I think of a man, and I take away rationale and reasoning and logic and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was hysterical. And, sell crazy somewhere else. We're all stocked up. I mean, Jack just has some great lines in the film, but he's got some issues. And he ends up, he's across the hall or down the hall from his neighbor, Greg Kinnear, who's homosexual, and he's got this little dog, and he gets beat up really bad, and Jack starts to take care of the dog while the guy is hurt, and he really goes on a journey of self-discovery and really kind of changes his life. And he finds, Helen Hunt, and she's the waitress, and she sees this kind of change, and this movie is all about character development, and it's done very well, and you don't see that in movies today. So that's why it's in the top 10. Okay, so coming in at number 6 is Couples Retreat. This is a great, very brilliantly written, well done, well put together cast, romantic comedy, and it's basically about Kristen Bell and Jason Bateman's character. They're having issues, so they get all their friends together, Vince Vaughn and Kristen Davis and Alton Ackerman and Jon Favreau, and everybody gets together, and they want to go to this couples retreat down in the Caribbean and work on marriage counseling and everything. And everybody kind of gets drug into it because they're like, oh, we can spend a vacation, and they ended up working on their own personal issues. And for anybody that's been married or in a long-term relationship, you will find so many things relatable in this movie, and the cast is brilliant. Great job on relationships and problems that are in relationships and coming to terms with them and all that kind of stuff, and what you should have done versus what you did. And very good stuff, all well written, very funny, and just an all-around good movie for both parties to watch in a couple and really enjoy it, especially if you've been in that relationship situation. So that's why this makes the top 10. All right, next we've got Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which is done by the same people who did Knocked Up, 40-Year-Old Virgin. We've got Kristen Bell again. We've got Jason Segel. Paul Rudd's in this. We've got Mila Kunis in it. And actually, I didn't realize it was Mila Kunis until about 20 minutes into the film. I just totally did not recognize her. But this is a great movie. If you've ever been the one that's been dumped, you're in a bad breakup relationship, you're trying to get on, and that person is still there, still involved in your life, and you're wrestling with the fact of, do I want to move on? Do I want to try to reconcile this? And just those kind of emotions and situations with some outstandingly funny scenes in this movie make for a very great romantic comedy. And of course, he ends up following his passions, ends up with the other girl, realizing the past is the past kind of deal. All in all, another great movie that a couple can sit down together and both are really going to take a lot from. So a very good all-round romantic comedy film. Okay, at number 4, we've got the Moulin Rouge with Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor. This is, I mean, I guess you could call it a romantic comedy. It's more of a romantic musical. Basically, this takes all of modern pop music and throws it in a Cuisinart, and it's based around this love story. The whole bohemian, turn of the century kind of idyllic, what love is, and romance, and truth, and beauty, and all that kind of stuff. And it really kind of follows the story of McGregor as the writer, and Nicole Kidman's pretty much a burlesque dancer at the Moulin Rouge, and they're trying to get funding for the show all the while. She's falling in love with the writer. She's supposed to be with this rich duke, and we've got the underlying story of she's dying. So, such classic and tragic qualities in a romance story are all here. Plus, they do a fantastic job with visuals. I mean, this literally looks like a music video on drugs. I would hate to see this on any kind of hallucinogen, but very interesting, very poppy, very musical, very artistic, very well done. This is definitely something to see on the big screen if you never have. If you get a chance to see this back on the big screen, definitely take someone, take that person that you like, take that person that you love, and enjoy this as an experience. This is about as close as getting an experience at the theater that you're going to get at the movies. So that's why it's number 4 on my list. All right, number 3, we've got French Kiss, another Meg Ryan film. This time she's with Kevin Kline, where Kevin Kline is trying to start a vineyard, and he's using a California vine, I think, in Paris, and Meg Ryan's gone through this breakup, and this is very similar to Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but on the reverse end, and we're going to Paris instead of Hawaii. And I really, really like this film. Meg Ryan, she's very cute and very spunky in this movie. Kevin Smith plays a great kind of greasy, chain-smoking Frenchman. He's kind of rough around the edges. He kind of reminds me of the Han Solo of romantic comedies. That sounds kind of goofy, but he's that scruffy nerf herder, that that scoundrel that Meg ends up falling for, and they end up starting the little vineyard and everything, and she ends up staying in Paris and that kind of thing. So a great little romantic comedy. This is one that you're probably going to have to like romantic comedies a little bit more than you would if you didn't. Because this is, I mean, it's got a lot of funny scenes in it, but this is definitely pushing more towards the chick flick than other romantic comedies we've looked at. All right, so number 2 in my list would be the romantic drama classic film Casablanca, starring Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. I mean, this is classic cinema, absolutely. I don't think you could get a better film than this, and it's epic. It's Humphrey Bogart's character. It's set during World War II. He has a love tryst with Ingrid Bergman's character, who's married to a rebel against the Nazis, and he's torn between the love of Ingrid's character versus her character's husband to help free him and lead a revolt against the Nazis during World War II. It's just it's love versus virtue at its greatest, and I don't think. I mean, this is one of my top 3 favorite films of all time. It's Casablanca, um, The Maltese Falcon, and Gone with the Wind, which is another fantastic romance, which really, really had issues of not putting that one on this list as well. But I think Casablanca is a superior film in many, many ways. All right, and my number one in my top 10 romance and romantic comedies would be James Cameron's Titanic. When I first saw this film, I really didn't care for the main character. I was basically, this is two fictional characters waltzing through history. And going back and looking at it, yes, the ship is amazing. The recreation of it and just seeing what it would have been like being there. It just looks phenomenal. They just re-released it in 3D here not too long ago, and it's an epic film about one of the worst tragedies in human history and a love story that's involved right in the middle of it. And it's, it's got the poor kid, the rich girl, and it's the whole opposites, the Romeo and Juliet, the pretty woman, all that kind of stuff kind of pulling together upon this horrible, horrible tragedy. And of course, he dies at the end. And I mean, that seems to be what makes romance films the greatest is, they put so much into love and effort and all this, and some horrible tragedy comes along, whether they both die or one or the other dies, and that just makes it all the more wrenching, and that's the point of it. Love and tragedy. It's, hand in hand, and this film does it in spectacular, breathtaking, sweeping scenes, and that is why it's number one on my list. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked it. What were your favorite romantic comedies? What are your favorite romances? Leave a note, create a film, look for other videos I've got coming up, and I hope you guys have a great one.